Hey there, I'm Amy Connell. Welcome to Graced Health, the podcast for women who want simple and grace filled ways to take care of themselves. I'm a certified personal trainer and nutrition coach who wants you to know your eating, movement, and body don't have to be perfect. You just need to be able to do what you're called to do. I have with me today someone who is doing what she has been called to do, and that is my friend Jill Howell. And we are taking a little bit of a turn from some of our typical conversations, but I cannot wait for you to meet Jill. I know you will love her just as much as I do. Jill is a Jesus follower, grace receiver, hope holder, hubby lover, daughter raiser, picture drawer, word writer, coffee drinker, and daily stepper through it all. Jill, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I'm really glad you're here. And by the way, that little bio that you used, I don't know if you know this or not, but I did the same thing with descriptions of my family for Christmas cards one year, actually a couple
Oh,
years.
that's so cool.
Yeah, it was really fun. And I can't take credit for that. My friend Shayna, who is just a brilliant reader and lover of words as well, she had received a card from someone. She said, I could see you doing this. And so all year long, I thought about it. So I love how you've put yourself together in all of these verbs,
Well, I'm
adjectives and
gonna have to
verbs.
see your card. I can't. Was it the design or was it how you signed it?
No, it was what people are doing.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's really
Yes.
cool.
So it was like basketball player, cross country runner,
Oh,
So
yeah.
I've done different things like that. But anyway, okay. So Jill, I am really excited because you have started creating some amazing products that I think are going to be so helpful for people. And I know that they come from your heart. It's something that you have felt called to do. So I would love for you to back up just a little bit and tell us how you got into um, illustrating. So drawing, kind
Mhm.
of online, what do we call it? Digital painting. There's a lot of different ways of saying it, but tell us how
Yeah.
you got into that.
So I've pretty much always done something creative. Growing up, yes, but then really as an adult, I think it's kind of been, I have four daughters, and so it's always been sort of an outlet to have something creative to do. Back in the day when we were having babies, I drew and illustrated birth announcements and invitations with colored pencil and things like that. Got into photography, you photograph your babies, then photos became how you designed cards and whatnot. And then there was a season of kind of nothing because we got busy with the kids. And if you do things creative, it usually a mess usually comes with it, and you got to have a space to leave it out. And that just kind of became more and more challenging. So that I feel like I kind of had a season of not a lot of that. And I honestly, I think because God's given me creative gifts, I get antsy when I'm not using them. But it took me some time to kind of figure that out. So then several years ago found digital drawing, and it's just like this perfect way to use my gifts, kind of scratch that itch, that desire to be creative. And it's an iPad and a pencil, and it's all digital, and it can go with me anywhere. And so just a few years ago got into that. So the sort of desire to draw has always been there, but the digital medium is new, which keeps it kind of fun too.
Yeah, and it's cleaner and easier,
Oh
probably.
my gosh, way cleaner.
What you were talking about of just like feeling antsy when you do that or when you don't create in the way that God designed you to create reminds me of a story that Glennon Doyle used to talk about writing, where it's just like bubbling up, bubbling up, bubbling up,
Yeah.
and it starts to just simmer and then boil, and then if you don't get it out, it stays on the inside and it causes all of these problems, and it's like such a peaceful, wonderful release whenever you finally get it out.
Yeah, and I remember talking to a friend about this, and she didn't relate to the creative part of that, but she said she is the kind of person who has to have fun every day. Like she has to do something silly or a prank or something like that. And so then she said, "Well, but if I don't do that every day, I get antsy." And I feel like that's like a gift of hers, is just that playfulness, because I definitely lack that. Like I have to work to build that in.
Me too.
Yeah, like kind of the fun sucker of the family. But it's her
Yeah. Same.
gift. And I was like, okay, so maybe that's how God works. He fills you with these, abilities. And when you're not truly using them, there's an uneasiness because they need to be out in the world. So I
Yes,
feel like I've kind of found a rhythm, understanding that. And then, a place in life, honestly, the girls are older. So a
absolutely.
place to, yeah, actually do and create again.
Yes. Well, and speaking of older, we are both getting older, and you
Yeah.
turned, I did, but for the record, I asked permission, you guys, for to say this, but you turned 50 recently,
Yes.
and I love that you're like, yeah, who cares? Because that's kind of my attitude too. But some people are, they feel a little differently about it. But you started doing some new things that connected kind of all of the different aspects of what's important to you. And in fact, even as I was reading these things, I mean, it was, picture drawer, word writer, the grace receiver, all of these, so everything kind of came together at once. So can you tell people what this project turning into your 50th birthday was?
Okay, so I turned 50 this summer, and I knew I wanted to be intentional with that time, or just with the approach, or just with um, recognizing it. Initially, I sort of had the idea of positive affirmations, self affirmations, because I think you probably have talked about this with other guests before, but as women, as humans, but as women, we get in our head really easily negatively. And so I just thought, okay, you're turning 50, like, you know, another half century's on its way, right? So let's go into it positive. And I brainstormed, I sketched, I, had little phrases. I took some illustrations that I had and was trying to, come up with something. And I kept kind of, I think it was God kind of, talking to me, turn your eyes outward. What's
Oh,
outward? Notice what's outside of you, not inside. So I thought, you know what? I think I want to write to people, and I think I just want to use, like, maybe I could find 50 people to write to before I turn 50, and just tell them what they mean to me. And so it was really an eyes out, not in shift that I had. And oh my goodness, it was so I randomly, because I don't know, you're getting a random text with your family, but it was the first day of spring, was, I don't know, March 21st or whatever day it was. Someone asked if it was the first day of spring within our family. So when I looked it up, I don't even know, I mean, again, probably God, but I that day was 100 days until my 50th birthday. And I was like, okay, here's my intention. Like, how am I going to do this? Could I get 50 notes written before I turn 50? And so I just, in my memos, my notes in my phone, kept a list of, my family and my daughters and immediate family, brothers, mom, in-laws, all of, and I mean, it became like a loaves and fishes situation with how many names could go in my list. From, when you reflect on your life, there's a lot of seasons that people are in, not throughout the 50, but, bridesmaids from when we got married, and high school friends. And I just slowly started writing notes to people. And I mean, it was, I mean, life giving to me, way more than positive affirmations would have ever been, because it just kind of put me in a posture of gratitude for all these relationships. And kind of even though you lose touch with people, I mean, I reached out to some high school friends. I mean, you're connected with a lot of people on Facebook these days, but just in a different way. And it was just kind of these wow moments. And I mean, who doesn't like to get a nice little note in the mail, and a
yeah, because you sent these snail mail, like
snail
you
mail?
hand wrote notes and put a stamp on them
Yes. Yeah.
with the return address, things that we're not always used to doing.
Yeah.
They're lovely though. You sent one to me. It was so fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's words of affirmation. And I've learned that that's my love language over the years, and it was just a way to use that in a very intentional way. And I know people love getting the notes based on, some texts and messages I got, snail mail notes I got back. I got a couple of pen pals out of that that exercise or that experience. But yeah, just it mentally was such a good, it was such a gift to me. So
Yes,
that was
absolutely.
that
I
was
would love it. Do you remember any of the responses that people shared that kind of either surprised you or took you aback or anything like, or meant a lot back to you?
not necessarily specific words, but just interesting who who might have been touched by it and sent a text or sent a note back in the mail or messaged me through Facebook if it's someone that we don't really text but we're connected on the social platforms. But yeah, I mean, just I didn't expect anybody to respond. You just picture somebody getting their letter in the mail and reading it and like, oh, that's so good. And you tuck it in your place where you might want to keep things or you put your mail or whatever. So just the fact that people even responded honestly kind of surprised me because it was, like I said, just this, um, I hate to say project, that makes it sound too rulesy, but just this,
Well,
I don't know, like a gift
drive
or
of the heart.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. You just said something too that I want to point out, and that is, we get a lot of emails, we get a lot of DMs, we get a lot of instant messages and all of that kind of stuff, but we keep the handwritten notes.
Yes.
And these are the things that we keep forever. I have a little keepsake box that your note went in, and that anytime
Oh,
anyone sends me a handwritten letter, it goes in there because it's so meaningful and it's something that will stay with us for so long. And so I don't want to let that slide, because what you've done is you have created in this project, not project, a a lasting connection and a lasting affirmation to the people who meant a lot to you.
yeah. And taking that maybe a step further for loved ones, friends that I've lost, what I wouldn't give to have that tangible, note. And so that just, I think, lit a fire even more. It just added to the meaning of what notes really mean. And, they don't take long at all to do. And, but you can speak from the heart in a matter of a few minutes and, give that to someone. So, yeah, you're right. I keep all of my notes in a little special little basket.
Yes, me too. You mentioned words of affirmation, and that was something that I kind of wanted to touch on a little bit. Obviously, that's a love language of yours. That's one of mine as well. I got really lucky. Well, anyway, words of affirmation is one of mine alongside acts of service. But have you learned anything, or what stood out to you in terms of how these cards support those words of affirmation and support your love language in terms of filling you and maybe filling other people?
The whole practice of this is just it's capturing those. So, words are they're everywhere and we're inundated with, communication and all the visual, all the pieces from every angle these days. But I don't know, the tangible written words for someone who likes to express them written, the verbal thing is, I can't, I get hung up. I get a little tongue tied when I try to speak things. Writing them just lets me kind of go a little deeper with what I really want to say. But they're there forever. Like it's, like getting your favorite shirt that you can keep forever. So I don't know if I really answered your question
No, it is
well.
good. Yeah, it is good. I just know that that has been an important part of this process for you in this journey. And it kind of leads into this next kind of topic or question that I have for you, because the words of affirmation really have helped you connect with other people.
Yeah.
And that, to me, just as an outsider, seems to be what that next drive is, of like what you are really hoping to help facilitate in creating these just beautiful, amazing illustrations. By the way, Jill, you're
Oh,
just so talented, and I
thank
love
you.
seeing all that you're doing. So I would like for you have, okay, first of all, I'm just going to take a little bit of a detour. You guys, I'm going to put Jill's Daily Steps Designs link up on YouTube. And I want you to go look. Just go look. And there are so many things. So Jill is also a huge book lover, and she's created all of these things surrounding books. She has wildflowers. She has stickers. She has, I mean, like holiday themed with books, which doesn't really say I didn't say that very well. So you have a ton of things. But the thing that I love that you have done recently, because as soon as you put this out and I was like, oh yes, I'm in, I want to do this, is having these, I think you're calling them open win cards. And so tell us about the origin of this and how do you envision people using them?
Okay, so
Tell us what it is too, by the way. I didn't ask that part of the
okay.
question.
Well, people might have seen all kinds of ads on social for their, I think like envelopes or something that you can print. I mean, the open win concept is has been around for a long time, and it's basically a note that you pre-write for someone to open when whatever that occasion may be. And there's a lot of different ways you can do it. I honestly, I don't remember noticing them on like Instagram ads, for instance. They'll certainly pop up now that we're talking about it,
Yes.
but it must have stuck somewhere inside. But when Addie, my second daughter, I was in my note writing 50 for 50, which by the way ended up being 100 for 50, and it's still going post 50. When I was sort of in that zone, she left for Africa for the summer for like a serve abroad opportunity. And I bought international stamps, super excited because there were these big sunflower international stamps. And then I reached out to the place she was going through Instagram and learned that they're too rural basically, so they don't get daily mail delivered. But I knew I wanted to connect with her that way. She was in Africa, very,
Yeah.
very far, time difference. I just wanted her to have that encouragement and those words of affirmation. And also that was my need, right? To like want to do that, to want to give that to her. So a group from A&M went to where she was as a mission trip, I guess. I wrote a set of open win notes to send with that group so she would have them because mailing wasn't an option. So that was sort of what prompted the concept of writing ahead and then giving, as a set. And when we could FaceTime with her, she was like, Mom, I love getting your notes because it was, a little piece of home. Mom, she experienced all kinds of great things, but that comes with a lot of emotion. And she just, they resonated with her and she loved receiving them. So I think even at that time, it wasn't like, oh, let me keep doing this. But I think God just kept, working with me, pushing me. And I feel like over the summer kept hearing this message of Gen Z being the loneliest generation. They're the most anxious generation on record, despite the look that they are connected. They're not. And I thought, you know what? Our kids aren't with us, so they can all use this, And then it went a step further. I was like, my high schooler who is a teenager and yes, under my roof, but she's gone a lot and she likes her time alone and that's normal. She could benefit. They don't need to always hear us talking at them, and you can
Right.
take in those words in a different way. So I was like, I want to write these notes to my girls. We had done letter writing with our Bible study in the spring, and we all kind of took a different way to serve, to organize. Mine was letter writing, and we wrote to. There's a lot of websites out there. You can write to elderly, you can write to military, and so we just gathered and wrote. And I thought, okay, why don't we gather and write to our kids? And so put it out there. They were like, yeah, let's get together. So I basically, it's easy to say, I want to sit down and write my kids. And then you sit down and then you're like, I don't know what to say in my notes.
You know what's coming back to me is when my kids would go to camp and I would have to write like 3 notes to them during the
Yes.
week that they were gone or the 2 weeks. I'm like, I have no idea what to say here. I love you. I hope you're having fun. So I
Yes.
get that.
Yeah. And that's like, that's the most discouraging feeling, is when you really want to do something and you don't know where to start. And so I basically pulled together what I thought would be helpful resources for our group coming over. And it was, I found 10 what I feel like are common emotions. So the open win times, so discouragement, when you need motivation, when you've had success, when you want to celebrate, when you feel sad, when you're angry. And then I found quotes that went with each of those, and made them all cute with, my Procreate on my iPad. And then I thought, okay, sometimes that's still intimidating. Like, you read a quote, but okay, how do I put that in? So then I also created some sheets. I called them starter sayings, and it's just little phrases that you could read and be like, okay, I can say that. And then as you start writing it, then your thoughts can sort of go. So I really created these kits as tools that could be helpful when, our group got together to write. And then I was like, I think this would be a great kit to put in people's hands and make it doable. Make it, you can get the kit and you have everything you need to sit down and get this done. Because the point is, write and send. Like, say it, write it, and put it in the hands of your people. And so I ended up creating a card that went with the theme of the quotes, the quote sheets, the starter sayings, and made a girl kit and a boy kit, like in colors, and just kind of ran with it. And then now I've got all these ideas for other kits that I want to make. There's not enough hours in the day to get everything done, but it started with the desire to send it to Addie in Africa, and then God talking to me about, just our young generation. But you know what? I wrote a set to a friend who's a new empty nester, and I thought, I just made it fun, and use cards I already have. You don't have to have my kit to do this. You can use, any card you want. The point is to write it. But I thought, okay, that she's going through some new emotions. What can be fun? And so it was a little more lighthearted. But I just thought, I feel like, again, this is my love language, so I get excited about it, and it's how I like to pour out. But I just feel like it's so needed in the world. And sometimes, like the old school stuff, writing letters and getting letters in the mail. I mean, that old school stuff. I don't know. It's kind of fun to bring back. So
It is so needed. And I love that you have done this. And the other thing, too, that you have provided is the need of what else is needed is for those who aren't necessarily comfortable or used to writing notes, is you've given us those prompts. You've given us those ideas to kind of get the juices flowing. So I love that. And I will say, too, for those listening, what I did when this came through is I got things to give to some of my girlfriends who had just launched their children off into college, because even if they sent it, even if they did the open win, or if they just wanted to, send it once a week or something like that. I mean, how fun is it to get real mail? I love getting we all
yeah,
love getting real mail, and especially when they are off in their own new space, fun space, but also potentially lonely at times space. So
yeah.
I think that that's such a great resource.
Yeah, and you can get so creative with it, because for mine, the card open when you're angry, the card says ticked off, and I put drew a little stick of dynamite. And for my girls, I put a little pack of, I think it's from Papa John's, of the red pepper packs, just because. And I was like feeling spicy, and just kind of like tried to bring some lightness to a heavy subject. Another friend wrote them, and she put a balloon with a toothpick, so you can blow it up, release your hot air, whatever, and then poke it with a toothpick, just to have a
That's
little
great.
boom, yeah, and get some of that frustration out. But it also sort of lightens the mood. So there's all kinds of ways. You can do gift cards, obviously, because you can go get some ice cream when you're feeling blue. But there's a lot of ways to have fun with it too, and that creative piece of me goes all in on that kind of
Lots of
stuff.
ideas.
So
Yes.
yeah,
Oh, I love it. I love
yeah,
it. And I love too the difference that you had for those who maybe are a little more feminine and frilly, or and not your stuff isn't frilly. So that's, I don't want to say that, but like for my guys, I have, and I'm going to pull up because I still have a few left. Like they're a little bit more, how would you describe it? Because they're very simple.
yeah. Simple. I tried to make No frills. I have 4 daughters. I go to frill and color and whimsy, and that is my style with my artwork. So I was super intentional to keep it a little darker, a little more muted, simple words. I've had a couple of conversation with friends whose these friends had sons. I'm sure it applies to girls too. They don't like a lot of words, which is
Right.
another way you could use the starter sayings is you could use them as a bullet point and just write simple phrases, and that's enough. It doesn't have to be, paragraphs and all of that. If that's not if that doesn't reach your kid, your person that you want to write to. But I was super intentional to keep things as non-girly and masculine as I could
Yes.
because I live
Yes.
in the
And you
girl
did a
world
great
and I'm
job with
very
that.
aware of it. Yeah.
Yes, you did a great job with that.
Well, thank you.
Okay, I've got a couple questions that I ask all of my guests, but first, we will put this in the show notes.
Okay.
But you guys, Christmas is right around the corner, and even if you are not listening as this comes out, there is always a reason that we need to give gifts, and this is a perfect place at Daily Steps Designs over on Etsy, Jill's store, where you can go get creative, handmade, intentional, made with love gifts that I think will help communicate your maybe your thoughts or just your caring for people. And there's so many fun things on here that, I mean, you have a whole thing for like a little, what do they call it? Little library
Oh yeah.
community. I mean, you've got so much out there. I mean, it's just overflowing with ideas. So go over there and check that out. But especially if you want to do something for your kids or for it's a great gift, grab a copy of these open win kits, and that will it's the gift that keeps on giving.
I mean, it is. I feel like I get on my soapbox with why they matter, but your kids receive a bazillion texts a day. They get emails. They don't even want to check emails. The school stuff comes in email. They don't get notes like this, and so and like I said, even my high schooler, I wrote them. When I wrote to my college girls, I just chunked some time, got it done, and I just left them on her bed for her. And then the next morning, she was like, "Mom, thank you for the notes." And you know,
Oh,
they don't always let me know right when they open them, but that's okay. So it's a talking point for future conversations.
absolutely. Okay, I've got a few questions I ask everyone. One is I love learning about people's tattoos because I have found that when people put a tattoo on themselves for the rest of their life, they often have a meaning behind it. So I was wondering if you had a tattoo, if you would mind sharing what it is and the meaning behind it. And if you don't, if you had to get one, what would it be and where would it go?
So no, but we talk about this a lot with the girls because they've talked about getting a sister tattoo, and then I say, "Hey, I want in on that. I don't want to be left out. What can we do with mom and daughter?" Then dad doesn't want to be left out. So that's just this like out there conversation. We never, we just revisit and
It's
nothing's
just
ever
ongoing.
decided. I have thought several times about this, and it would be something faith based. For a long time, I thought I wanted to get an arrow just because I just like arrows, but it reminds me of Proverbs 3 5 through 6. And now I'm not going to remember now that we're talking about it, but
That's okay.
um,
Homework. You guys can go
I
look
know.
it
I'm
up.
like, and I got my Bible right here. But it's, basically keep me on the straight path. And there's just a lot of cool ways. They're kind of boho and all that. And then I knew a friend who had a tattoo that was the Bible verse, "Help my unbelief." And that always kind of stuck out to me. And, that's hers. I didn't want to take her thing, but I loved that. I loved that she committed to that, because your faith can be a hard road to walk sometimes. So
For
but
sure.
it's all in my head right now. Nothing on my skin.
That's right. That's all right. Everything's in my head too. Okay. And but like you, we have often had these conversations like, what would it be? Where would it go? What would you do? And then, of course, I end up asking a lot of really random people about their tattoos, but it always sparks wonderful conversations. So I'm not
And
going to
you're right.
apologize for it.
They are. My oldest daughter has a couple, and the first one she got is the word sparkle because my dad, who's been gone for a while now, used to say, "Your sparkle smile is when you show the world who God intended you to be." And so that word sparkle just became a thing for us. And so she had Emma Kate draw the word like in her handwriting, and got that. So when she asked, "Can I get this tattoo?" and then she explained it to me, I was like, yes. I mean, how am I going to say no to that? So yeah, it's really cool when they have a story.
Love that. Love that. Okay, do you have a, I mean, you kind of shared a bit of a Bible verse, but do you have a meaningful Bible verse that you would like to share?
So I do. I feel like it's my life verse. We used to have this conversation at my old job about everybody has a psalm that's their life verse, and maybe you found it, maybe you haven't. And if you ask people, it's interesting how many people do have a psalm. This is what my cards are centered around: daily steps. It's Psalm 119, 133. I'll read it straight from my Bible. Keep steady my steps according to your promise, and let no iniquity get dominion over me. So it's basically keep my steps going, keep my steps in the direction that you want me to go, and don't let any sin rule over me. Don't let anything from the world rule over me. And it's a constant prayer I have to pray. And I look back on my journey of, kind of the creative thing and the writing thing with blogging on Instagram or whatever. And he does just keep guiding my steps. It's kind of interesting where it's ended up, and it's my life verse, and it's what my cards are named after. And
Yeah.
that's my verse. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so funny that you say that because actually just this morning I was praying about uh, just feeling overwhelmed in one of the projects. And I was praying that, let your word be a lamp unto my feet, just guiding me for the next step. Because that
Yes.
lamp will only reach as far as like how far you can step. And then the next one and the next one. And so that's so funny to hear you say that because that was my prayer this morning. So yay God
Yeah.
for connecting things as always.
Well, and the steps are what I've learned over the years is they're not just physical steps.
Right.
When I kind of got into this space, it was a little more health focused, and it's evolved into where I am now. But it was like, our steps are, we have to be able to forgive, and we have to be kind, like the fruits of the spirit, and show that. And, my emotions need to be in check. And if they're not, then I need to, pray. And so the steps just became not metaphorical. I mean, all that's real, but just way more than just my
Right.
physical steps, to keep
Right.
going. So,
Broad meaning for it, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
For sure. Okay, we've already said that I will or I will link to your daily steps design on Etsy. Is there anywhere else you want to point people to connect with you?
Probably the place I hang out the most is Instagram, and it's Daily Steps Designs. I That's usually my favorite space to hang out. I also have a page on Facebook that's Daily Steps, and they're linked. So usually the content from one place is the same, but you can interact a little differently on either. And then of course my
Right.
my Etsy shop. So
Perfect.
that's where I
Perfect.
am.
Okay, Jill, what is the one simple thing you would like us to remember about today's conversation? Big or small, but just one simple thing.
Well, I think maybe the obvious thing, but there's rootedness there, is just to write. So when I, came into the cards and illustrating, and how can I kind of use, I feel like encouragement is a spiritual gift. So how can I like merge that with these words of affirmation? It's writing, and I feel like it's a word God has given me for years, and I always thought it was like, for me, my word. I have so many pictures in my camera roll with the word write on wherever I saw it in the world, but I feel like it's really it that's a word to be shared with others. When in the Bible, when God wants to get your attention, tells you something important, he says write this down. And I just think that matters, and that word matters. I think that succinctly, in a simple way, sums up where I am on my journey and what I'm doing and what I'm making. And,
Love it.
the writing things to others matters.
Just right.
Just right.
Okay. Okay, that is all for today. Go out there and have a graced day.